Your Skyhawk has radios, lights, and other equipment that require electrical power. So to power that equipment, it has an electrical system that functions similarly to the one in your car. Although you will note some switch and control differences from your car, you'll find the Skyhawk's electrical system simple to use and monitor. The heart of your Skyhawk's electrical system is an alternator, which is belt-driven from the engine. Remember, that's the belt you check inside the cowl on your pre-flight. The alternator furnishes electricity to the airplane and charges the battery. When you first turn on the master switch, you are connecting the battery to all the electrical systems except the ignition. You're familiar with the master switch and have used it several times by now, but did you realize it's really two switches? The right half, labeled BAT, controls all the electrical power to the airplane, and the left side, labeled ALT for alternator, controls the alternator. Normally, both sides of the master switch should be turned on. You would turn off the alt side of the master switch if the alternator fails and produces too little or too much voltage. If your alternator stops working, the ammeter on the lower left side of the panel will show a discharge. See how it's below zero right here? There will also be a low voltage warning light on the annunciator panel. Here it is right here. This means that only the battery is powering your airplane, and that's not good because your battery is being discharged if the alternator is not working. And the battery can only run the electrical equipment for a very short while on its own. The more equipment you leave on, the shorter time your battery will last. If the alternator fails, you should immediately reduce the electrical load by turning off anything that you don't need so your battery will last longer. If the alternator has failed by creating too much voltage, it will pop the alternator field circuit breaker labeled Alt Field. You can reset the circuit breaker once to see if the alternator will come back online. But if it pops the circuit breaker again, you should turn the alternator switch off and have a mechanic look at it. And the mechanic will say, "Yep, it's popping that circuit breaker." Your Skyhawk uses circuit breakers and fuses to protect the wiring and equipment in the airplane from damage. A momentary surge of power may cause a circuit breaker to pop or a fuse to blow. Here are your circuit breakers here. If you need to use the equipment protected by a popped circuit breaker, say that 3 times fast, you may reset it one time to try to get that equipment back. But never, never manually hold a circuit breaker in. So you can see that the Skyhawk's electrical system is really quite simple, and all you normally have to do is turn on both sides of the master switch and all that electrical equipment is ready for your use. Now let's suppose you're taxiing out for takeoff someplace like Chicago on a cold day in December. And this is the O'Hare control tower before the fire, I think. And the windshield starts to get fogged up on the inside of your airplane. This can really hamper your visibility in a very short period of time. And swapping paint with other airplanes tied down along the ramp is not a good idea. So you have a cabin heating system in your Skyhawk to help keep you warm and clear the windshield at the same time. To warm up the cabin or defrost the windshield, all you do is pull out the cabin heat knob to allow warm air from the heater system into the cabin. This air is ducted to the floor outlets for passenger comfort and to the 2 defroster vents on the base of the windshield. This is us looking inside the windshield. These are knobs attached here that have sliding valves on the defroster, so they let you control the airflow. Now the heated air comes from a shroud that is wrapped around the exhaust muffler, and there's the heating air coming out here. Think of it as running the exhaust pipe through a large coffee can, where the fresh air can flow in one end of the can and then out the other while being heated by the hot exhaust pipe on the inside. That heated air is then piped to the cabin, while the exhaust gases continue outside through the exhaust pipe. This system's pretty simple and it works well, but there is the possibility that an exhaust leak could develop within the exhaust muffler shroud. The heater system is inspected regularly. But if you do smell exhaust after you pull the cabin heat knob, immediately push it back in. It would also be a good idea at that time to open up the cabin air knob as well as the upper air outlets to get as much fresh air in as possible. This will help remove the exhaust and carbon monoxide gases from the cabin. We'll talk about the effects of carbon monoxide a little later. And now, this is a good time to put on a warm coat until a mechanic checks out the heater system. Nice hat, Goober. So now you see how really simple it is to keep your Skyhawk's radios and lights working and your passengers warm at the same time.